just switch now to English for all our international listeners. We now have suffered 45 minutes of hard German language, so thanks for this and staying with us. So we're now going through the English questions you have sent to us, and we will start with the interest rates in Germany. So we have a question here for international client Adam from Hong Kong. He is asking, have the interest rates changed for non-German residents?
Yeah, also from my side, hello to everybody from outside Germany. Very welcome. To answer this question, well, I don't think that the interest rates have significantly changed for foreign investors. So sometimes, in some cases, it is possible, especially if the investor is willing to personally come to Germany for the signing of the contract. Yes, then it's possible, because then he will get interest rates similar to those which a domestic investor can get. But if he asks for a mortgage from abroad, then I wouldn't say that there have been any significant changes.
We have another question from, I think it's Lucas from Brighton. A foreigner with a blue card resident permit. I am a foreigner with a blue card resident permit and work contract basis. How can I access financial support for purchasing a property in Berlin? What I need to do?
Well, you need to contact one of the mortgage brokers who have specialized on getting mortgages for foreign investors. I think there are some 10 in Berlin, and some of them are very experienced, sophisticated. They're very good, so you can rely on them. And usually, from what you have said, you should get a mortgage between 50 to, if you're lucky, 80% of the purchase price. 100% mortgage is very unlikely. I wouldn't exclude it totally, but it's better if you calculate with some 50 to 80% and cover the rest by equity, and of course also the purchase cost by equity.
We have a next question from Susan from New York. I would like to know how the real estate market is affected after the COVID crisis. What changes may take place in this scenario? Well,
hello to New York. This is rather a question for the real estate agent than me. So I don't know. I mean, as long as interest rates are low, the impact is positive on the property market. Whether COVID has a sustainable impact on the property prices, it's too early to judge it. So can happen, who knows? I don't dare to predict it at this stage. Ask me in a month or 2 months' time, and I might dare to give you an answer on this. But at the moment, maybe the real estate agent is the better part to ask for this.
The next question is from Richard from Berlin. So do you see commercial office rents increasing, decreasing, flat, or currently unable to predict?
Sorry, can you say this again?
Sorry, yes. Do you see commercial office rents increasing, decreasing, flat?
Got it. Yeah. I've got it now. I think at the moment I would expect a tendency that the rental income that you can expect from commercial units is rather decreasing due to Corona, because we have had a lockdown and with a negative impact. Whether this will last forever or whether there will be a quick recovery, who knows? We have to wait and see.
We have Stephen from also from Berlin. What is the latest situation with the rent freeze?
Well, again, I mean, from the perspective of a mortgage broker, it is that some units cannot get the mortgages, especially for foreign investors, they could get before we had this rent freeze situation, and therefore you would have to contribute more equity to buy the property than you would have had to contribute, let's say, half a year ago.
Okay, we have the next question, Cassandra from Odessa. What is the market situation price-wise and demand in Berlin, as well as the inventory of new apartments in the market?
Sorry, I have to ask you again for this
What
question.
is
Can
the
you
market
repeat it?
situation price-wise?
Yeah.
And in Berlin as well as the inventory of new apartments?
Yeah. The inventory of new apartments. So
the price, do you see any changes in the price when you
due
find
to the inventory of new apartments? Well, I don't think that it has an impact because we still have quite a demand for properties. So there is more demand than supply. And therefore, I think there is no change. If I've understood the question correctly, sorry, I'm not 100% sure about it.
Okay, maybe I can help you a little bit on this last question. I think she wants to know if the market is still supplying enough properties, if the developers are generating.
Yeah. Ah, okay. Yeah. Still, because many developments started before we had these recent changes, and therefore there's still a significant number of developments. Yes.
Yes. So just to make sure that this is basically these are all the English questions we got so far. So I'll just give you a quick heads up on what we discussed today in German in the last 45 minutes before we switch to English. So we have discussed the market in Berlin and of course in Germany as a whole. We have discussed the situation of Martin Bonnet, who is financing more than 400 people every year. And he's based in Berlin as an international mortgage broker, and he responded to most of your questions, I would say nearly all of them, regarding obtaining a mortgage in the current COVID-19 crisis, if there are any changes, which he said there are very few changes, except the market is slower than it was before. Slower, it means he still has similar amounts of applications, maybe 80–90% than he had before the crisis. The interest rates haven't changed. This is, I think, very important. The prices haven't changed. The only thing that has changed is the time. So from the day you hand in the application to the day you will get the approval or the denial, if you are not prepared properly, then it just takes a bit longer. I think this is the main message. Martin, please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, everything is absolutely correct.
Good. So this is the situation we're having right now. We then, of course, have a lot of questions. Is it the right time to buy in Berlin? Are the prices falling? Shall I wait? How do you see the market? And Martin has responded to these questions, and he said it's pretty hard to tell the future. We have arguments both for the inflation scenario and the deflation scenario. So let's start with the worst case scenario. We're having a deflation like we had in 1929. And of course, property will be affected by the current worldwide recession. We are just at the beginning of this recession. So no one really can tell how far. We can see today is that the banks are not restrictive in finance. The banks see the Berlin property market very positive in general, as long as the economic data is correct from the buyer, the purchaser, especially when you want to buy property where you want to live in yourself, then they are fairly optimistic. The loan to value is still between 50–60%. If you're lucky, 70% in Berlin. In very, very few cases, you get 80%. The interest rates are very similar to last year. They haven't really changed. The big thing is the rent freeze or the rent ceiling we're having in Berlin. It did affect, of course, the valuation of the property itself. But this happened already last year. I think it was in summer last year when the banks already anticipated the rent ceiling and already have adjusted their assumptions. Martin itself is now in the market for over 20 years, so he has seen a lot of crises, a lot of changes. We had the crisis in 2009, where we had the subprime mortgage crisis. So we have not a similar scenario right now. We have now a different scenario where the banks are still very active. However, the economy is being hit, especially people in the tourism industry, in the event industry, in the leisure industry. Restaurants, catering, etc. All of these people have been affected, but in general, these have not been these people who have applied for mortgages anyway. So this means there are a similar amount of applications. However, if you want to buy a commercial property in Berlin, which very few people do from abroad, but if you're looking to buy a commercial property, let's say it's a supermarket, it's a hotel, it's much harder to get a mortgage than it used to be before the COVID-19 crisis. This might be the biggest change Martin can see right now. Also, if you are buying, and especially if you're coming from abroad, and you are purchasing a property, a multifamily house within the rent ceiling, so it's an existing building built or completed before 2014, the rents are very restrictive when it comes to investors who are buying in bulk because of the rent ceiling. So this has lowered the valuation on the Altbau, we would say, or Altbaugebäude, as we would say in German. So this is a big finding of Martin, which you can see already, but this has nothing to do with the COVID-19 crisis. This has to do purely with the rent ceiling and only affects Berlin, not the other cities. So this is so far on pricing. The deflation we discussed. So deflation means that the value of money is going down, and it's very hard to buy something with your money. We have the inflation scenario where we have the price going up. And Martin also discussed this briefly in German at the beginning of this Zoom call today. And he said it's more likely that we are facing an inflation scenario, which is also economically and politically, let's be a bit soft here, better than the other scenario. So there could be a big run on properties in general, because they seem to be at least less volatile than the stock markets and other asset class. So in general, Martin is suggesting if you're buying a property, of course, make sure that you do the math, make sure that if you want to rent it out, that you are flexible, that the rent will cover the mortgage. The bank would do so anyway. So this might help Martin before he hands in an application for any property that you have done your proper research, speak to your broker, your agent, make sure the figures are correct, the documents are correct, which I know Martin by heart now for over 10 years. He loves proper set of documents when he hands in applications. It makes his life much easier. And also, of course, your chances in buying a property in Germany, it makes him much, much easier. Martin, vielen Dank, dass du dir heute die Stunde Zeit genommen hast.
Sehr gerne.
Ja, ich finde das super. Das ist, ich denke, das sind ganz viele wichtige Informationen, die wir hier heute gesammelt haben. Und ich finde es auch super, dass wir so viele Zuhörer oder Zuschauer heute hatten. Für alle Zuhörer oder Zuschauer, Sie finden das Video in YouTube, Berliner Immobiliengespräche, auf unserem eigenen Black Label YouTube-Kanal. Das dürfte zum Wochenende schon fertig sein. Also wenn Sie jetzt vielleicht nochmal eine Frage nachlesen wollen oder nachhören wollen, können Sie das am Wochenende in aller Ruhe tun. Das gilt natürlich auch für die englischen Zuhörer. So for all international listeners, this video will be on YouTube in German and English by this weekend, we hope. So you can listen again to the answers Martin has given to you, and it might help you in your decision in buying or not buying, or selling or not selling, or how to obtain a mortgage, how it works, and it makes your life a bit easier.
Well, two things, if I may add them. One is typical German. Deflation is when money is gaining in value, not losing value. It's inflation, but this is typical German. Yeah. But the other thing is just the advice I would like to give to any international investor if he's considering to buy a mortgage is to look for a good mortgage broker, for a good lawyer, for a good real estate agent. A good mortgage broker is somebody you can talk to. You can ask all the questions, not just like today. Some deeper questions, get some more profound answers to this. And a good mortgage broker is also somebody who's not vanishing once he has done the deal with you, but offers his service to you during the whole duration of your mortgage.
Thank you, Martin. Vielen Dank, Martin.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. Achim, always a pleasure. And if you like, I'll be back.
Thank you, Martin. Have a good evening.
Same to you. Bye-bye.